They didn't need weapons. They didn't need chains. All they needed was permission. In a quiet university basement, ordinary college students began screaming at each other. Some cried, some laughed, some broke, and no one stopped it. What happens when you give good people the power to control someone else and tell them there are no real consequences? The campus looked like every other campus in America. Sunlight spilled across clean sidewalks. Students carried books and coffee cups. Laughter echoed between brick buildings. It was the early 1970s, and the world outside felt turbulent. Protests, political tension, distrust of authority. But inside the gates of Stanford University, life felt safe, structured, academic. In the psychology department, curiosity buzzed louder than rebellion. Professors wanted to understand human behavior, not in theory, but in action. At the center of it all was a young professor named Philip Zimbardo. He had sharp eyes and a calm voice. To his students, he seemed like the kind of academic who wanted answers to big questions. Why do prisons become violent? Why do guards abuse power? Are cruel people born that way, or made? The experiment sounded simple. Volunteers would be recruited. College students. Healthy, stable young men. They would be randomly assigned roles, prisoner or guard, inside a simulated prison built in the basement of the psychology building. It would last 2 weeks. 14 days. That was all. The participants answered an advertisement offering payment for a study on the psychology of prison life. Nothing about danger. Nothing about trauma. Parents assumed it was harmless. Friends joked about it. Even the volunteers themselves treated it like summer fun. They arrived laughing. They left, changed. The first crack didn't happen inside the basement. It happened at home. The prisoners were arrested without warning. Real police cars pulled up to their houses. Neighbors watched as they were handcuffed, searched, and read their rights. The officers were real members of the Palo Alto Police Department, cooperating with the study. The students weren't expecting that. What was supposed to be a role play suddenly felt real. Embarrassment turned to confusion. Confusion turned to fear. They were booked, fingerprinted, and placed in holding cells before being transferred to the mock prison at Stanford. Down in the basement, the fluorescent lights hummed. The guards had already been briefed. They were told only one thing: maintain order. No physical violence. Everything else, up to them. Uniforms were handed out. Khaki shirts, reflective sunglasses, nightsticks, symbolic but heavy in the hand. And just like that, something invisible shifted. A costume can change posture. Authority can change tone. And anonymity can change morality. At first, it was awkward. The guards stumbled through commands. The prisoners laughed nervously. But something strange happens when you remove a name. The prisoners were assigned numbers. They were told to refer to themselves only by those numbers. No names. No identities. Just digits stitched onto smocks. Number 8612. Number 819. Number 5486. When a person stops being a name, they start becoming a role. The guards began inventing rules. Push-ups for minor disobedience. Standing counts in the middle of the night. Repeating identification numbers over and over until voices cracked. It escalated faster than anyone expected. The sunglasses hid their eyes. The uniforms erased individuality. The basement walls swallowed empathy. And the professor watched. Philip Zimbardo didn't step in. He had become something else now. Not just a researcher, but the prison superintendent. Authority wrapped around him too. By the second day, the laughter was gone. Prisoners began to show signs of distress. Some trembled. Some refused to eat. One screamed uncontrollably, demanding to leave. The guards accused him of faking it. Manipulation, they called it. So they punished him. Solitary confinement in a dark closet. The experiment was only supposed to simulate prison. But the humiliation felt real. The power felt real. And the suffering was undeniably real. By the fourth day, the basement no longer felt like a university. It felt like a cage. Guards forced prisoners to clean toilets with their bare hands. They stripped them of bedding. They woke them hourly for counts. They made them chant degrading phrases about themselves. There were no instructions telling them to do this, in a one-ordered cruelty. It grew naturally, like mold in the dark. One prisoner broke down so severely he had to be released. Another developed a psychosomatic rash. Others began to obey without question, slumping into submission. What disturbed observers most wasn't the cruelty. It was the enthusiasm. Some guards smiled. Some became inventive. They didn't look like villains. They looked like students playing a role too well. And Philip Zimbardo remained inside the system he created, watching through a lens that blurred ethics and curiosity. It took an outsider to stop it. A graduate student named Christina Maslach visited the basement and saw something the others had normalized. She saw humiliation. She saw psychological collapse. And she asked a question no one else had asked. What are you doing to these boys? That question cracked the illusion. The experiment was shut down after just 6 days. 6 days out of 14. Not because the data was complete, but because the humanity was collapsing. When the students emerged, the sunlight felt different. Some couldn't meet each other's eyes. The guards who had barked orders now spoke softly. The prisoners who had wept now avoided conversation. The study exploded into headlines. It was cited in debates about prison reform. It was referenced in military trials. It became a symbol of how quickly power corrupts. Years later, it would be dramatized in books, classrooms, documentaries, and films like the Stanford Prison Experiment. But behind the cultural references, something darker lingered. Critics began questioning the methodology. Were the guards subtly encouraged to be harsh? Were participants pressured to stay? Was it truly spontaneous cruelty, or something guided? The myth grew larger than the basement. And so did the controversy. Yet one truth remained impossible to ignore. Ordinary people can become disturbingly cruel under the right conditions. No monsters required. Just roles, just authority, just permission. If you think this was disturbing, wait until you hear what happened when obedience was tested with electric shocks in another infamous study. Because sometimes, the most terrifying prisons aren't built with walls. They're built inside the human mind. And if you want to uncover the side of history they never taught you, the experiments, the secrets, the moments where humanity slipped, subscribe now. Because the next story will make you question not just history, but yourself.